K the boss, K the boss, K the boss. K the boss, K the boss, K the boss. K the boss, K the boss, K the boss. K the boss, K the boss, K the boss. K the boss, K the boss, K the boss. K the boss, K the boss. K the boss, K the boss, K the boss. K the boss, K the boss, K the boss. K the boss, K the boss, K the boss. K the boss, K the boss, K the boss. K the boss, K the boss, K the boss. boss, K the boss, K the boss, K the boss, K the boss.
What's up, everybody? Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate the love. Appreciate the support. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. We are live. And on the last show, I only saw 4 supporters, and we didn't get that 5th one as far as I counted, but I was mistaken because Stephanie Ellison hit me on the Citizen Man Cash App, and she said, "You are the truth, and you are fine as hell." Well, Stephanie, thank you for that compliment, and thank you for that support. I really appreciate it. But unfortunately, I don't feel so fine. I don't feel so fine because I've been in a pretty bad space for the last several months. Well, matter of fact, for the majority of 2025. And I'm trying to get back to that good space now that we're in a new year, but it's very hard. It's very hard because I'm dealing with familial issues and relationship issues that I would rather not have to deal with. And if I could just turn it off and say fuck it and fuck everybody, I'd be great. But thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Stephanie, for at least, giving me some confidence in myself. I really appreciate that. Because I've been hearing all my life that I'm fine as hell, but I haven't been treated that way. So I don't know what to make of that. But I'm not going to sit here and say that you're lying, because if that's what you see and that's what you think, then all I can do is accept it and appreciate it. So thank you for that, Stephanie. I appreciate it. And I want to give a big shout out to my good brother Lee14224 with the faithful support on the PayPal. And of course, my sister Elsine that hit me on the Venmo with that faithful support. So we got 2 supporters so far already before the show even started. So that's a good sign. Hopefully we keep that momentum going and we keep it rolling. Now, tonight's topic, NCSWIC, which in Q terms stands for nothing can stop what is coming. Trump is collapsing their system of control and they are going scorched earth. And what I mean by that is Trump is undermining their entire system, and with the takedown of Maduro, with the war that he's waging on the cartels, he's cutting off their money supply. And the scorched earth that we're seeing is with the ICE removals of the illegal aliens, many of whom are connected to these cartel networks. And their mission in America is to set up points of drug distribution and, of course, sex trafficking distribution within the United States. And when I say they're going scorched earth, what we're seeing is the Democratic Party, of course, and their cohorts are constantly and consistently trying to demonize Trump and demonize ICE in a false effort to thank you, Sister Elsine. She says, I agree with Stephanie. So got 2 sisters that think I'm fine as hell. So thank you. I appreciate it. And hopefully one day I can make those external compliments reflect in my internal self-confidence and, get back to being the man I used to be. But I've been broken down. I've been beaten down. I've been torn down. And that's what comes with being a truther. That's what comes with doing this shit, because it costs a lot to, in a world of lies, in a system that's ran by people who push propaganda and an ideology based on lies, it's very difficult to be a truther. And this is why I've been censored so much. I've been shut down so much. I've lost so much support, and I don't get the same amount of revenue that I make off every show. And it sucks. But shout out to Rapunzel on the Cash App. She says, glad to catch tonight's show. Appreciate that, Rapunzel. And I'm glad you're able to catch the show. But this is what comes with here's the thing. Every superhero movie that you ever seen, what do you notice about that superhero? His job is to go out there and fight villains and save the world. But there's always this internal struggle of wanting to fit in, wanting to be a part of the normal society, wanting to have connections and have camaraderie and have partnership. But in real life, it's very difficult. On the internet, it's real easy. It's real easy, you know. But in real life, it's very difficult. And I'll tell you guys something. I'm gonna be vulnerable with you guys right now. I'll tell you guys something. There is literally no one in my real life, not blood relatives, not women that I've had relationships with, no one that watches my show. So everybody that supports me on YouTube and that watches my show are people that I've never met and I've never seen before. So I get more love and more appreciation from strangers, from people that if I were to see them in public, I wouldn't know who they were and they wouldn't know who I was. I get more love and support from those people than the people who actually know me. And it's a very sad realization to come to when you finally accept the fact that this is just the way it's going to be. I'm just always going to be a voice on the internet, a face on the internet, and I'll always be appreciated by people on the internet. But in my real life, I'll be a loner. I'll be in complete solitude and isolation, and I'll have nobody. And I don't know if I can be cool with that, because as a human being, it's our natural instinct to crave camaraderie and brotherhood and friendship and sisterhood. But the unfortunate reality is that's not going to be the case. And in making the conscious decision to go on this journey of being a truther, that's one of the pitfalls that comes along with it. And you know what? Fuck it. I'm cool with that. Shout out to Sarah for the Cash App. She says, I've been here since the first channel. And yes, you have, Sarah. Yes, you absolutely have. And I appreciate you for being here. And Sarah is actually one of the few people that I did meet in person and that I do know and that I have known in person that still watches my show. And I'll admit, I haven't been the greatest friend to Sarah. I have not. Because she reaches out and I just kind of ignore her sometimes and I don't respond because I don't know how to deal with that kind of shit. Maybe I'm just, maybe being on the internet is just my destiny and my thing, because I'm not very adept at connecting to people outside of the internet. And that's a problem that many of us content creators have. And this is why there's so much mental illness amongst content creators. There's so many crazy people on the internet. Because it'll drive you crazy. It will. The loneliness and the solitude and the isolation, it will fucking drive you crazy. But at least I can say this. I'll never be as crazy as these crazy left-wing liberals that get all their information from TV. So I'll always have some semblance of sanity. And even though the only people that I can truly say are in my corner and appreciate me for what I do and the effort I put in are on the internet, at least I can take solace in knowing that if I'm not being heard in my real life, at least I'll be heard on the internet. So no matter what happens, I'll be heard. And I'm cool with that. If this is my destiny, then this is my destiny. No problem. I'm good. Because I'll tell you right now, when it comes to the information sharing, the analysis, the breakdowns, I'm a fucking genius at it. And I'm going to continue being a genius at it. And there's nothing in my real life that will ever get in the way of that. Because this is about the future of humanity. So my personal feelings, my personal desires, my personal wants and needs, comes second to what the world needs, because I'm here to do my part in trying to save the world. And I think I've been doing a pretty damn good job at it. Such a good job, in fact, that YouTube found it necessary to censor me 15 fucking times. So if I'm that good at what I do, that I find myself on the enemy's radar to where they see it necessary to silence me, that means I'm doing my job, and I'm doing a damn good job at it. So if nobody in my real life is proud of me about that, at least I can take pride in myself that I was put here on this earth to do a job, and I'm fucking doing it. I'm doing it because we're living in dangerous times, and the times that we're living in, the danger comes from the entities that are pushing the lies on you and trying to make you believe the lies. And I push back by giving you the truth, showing you the truth, so that way you don't fall for the lies. Because the people out there that are trying to fight against ICE and resist ICE and impede ICE, they have fallen for the lies. And I will never be one of those people. Now, when it comes to nothing can stop what is coming, Nicolas Maduro, has been arrested. He's in federal custody. He's telling on everybody, and people are going down, including federal judges, because these people are on the payroll. They are on the payroll. They are profiting and they are benefiting from not only the drug trafficking and the human trafficking, but the scams that the illegal aliens are running. These Democrats that have been given all these welfare benefits to these illegals, when you look at the amount of money being siphoned from the federal government to fund these welfare programs, it's a lot more than the amount of money that's actually been dispersed to the illegals. That means there's a middleman somewhere that's skimming off the top. And those middlemen that are skimming off the top and are profiting from these illegals being here, they are the ones that are pushing the propaganda of anti-ICE. They're the ones that want you to oppose Trump's agenda of removing these foreign nationals from the country, because with these foreign nationals here, as long as that welfare money is flowing, they sit on these committees that have the ability to disperse and appropriate these funds. And with that power comes the ability to skim off the top. Now, in reference to the Maduro capture, it's been brought to my attention that the very small spec ops unit that was sent into Caracas to grab Nicolas Maduro, they were very successful. Not one single American life was lost. And they were successful because they had help. And the help came in the form of directed energy weapons. And here's the article from the New York Post. U.S. used powerful mystery weapon that brought Venezuelan soldiers to their knees during Maduro raid, witness account. And these same powerful mystery weapons are going to be used against the ICE protesters. I have a strong feeling that it will. And the reason why I believe that it will is because these anti-ICE protests are starting to pick up more steam. There's more people taken to the streets. There's more Americans that are standing in opposition to what the Trump administration is trying to do. And the fact that they're in such wholehearted support of these foreign nationals over their own fellow Americans leads me to believe that they are going to suffer the same fate that every other enemy combatant around the world is going to suffer. Maybe not necessarily death, but they will be severely crippled, severely disabled, and rendered ineffective. Now, the other image on the thumbnail, Russia is deporting all Israeli citizens. Remember what I told you, after Venezuela, Israel is next. And now we have Russia deporting the Israeli citizens out of their country. You know why they're doing that? They're doing that because when Russia's allies in the Middle East, mainly Iran, start attacking Israel, the Israeli citizens that are residing in Russia, many of whom are Mossad agents and sleeper cells, they're going to turn up and they're going to start committing acts of domestic terrorism in Russia. So Russia, Vladimir Putin, is safeguarding his country by removing all of these people out of his country and sending them back to Israel. So shit's getting real. And all these anti-ICE protests, I believe that the anti-ICE protests are a trap. Because if you think about it, Donald Trump has the full power of the U.S. military behind him, but he's somehow, for some reason, leaving these ICE agents out in the streets to be ran over by cars, to be shot at by illegals and clowns that support these illegals. And eventually it's going to reach a fever pitch where ICE and Department of Homeland Security is going to say, hey, Trump, we need better weaponry. We need more support. And that support is probably more than likely going to come in the form of directed energy weapons. Now, the diabolical part about the whole thing is we see this push by the mainstream media, the Democratic Party, and their activists, and they're even reactivating Black Lives Matter. We see this push to get Black Americans to join in with the white liberals in advocating for these illegal aliens. And I really hate to say it. But I believe that once the Democratic Party gets enough Black Americans on board to where they join in the anti-ICE riots and the impeding and obstruction of federal law enforcement in protection of these illegal aliens, that's when the directed energy weapons are going to be rolled out. And the Black people are going to be on the front lines at the behest of the Democratic Party, and they will face the brunt of these directed energy weapons. So, Black Americans, I made a video about American citizens, to American citizens in general, pleading with them to not aid and abet these illegal aliens. But I have to say this, Black Americans, when you guys decide to go out there and start advocating for these illegal aliens, you're going to be the first group to face the wrath of these directed energy weapons. Stay your ass at home. Do not advocate for these illegals. Do not protest for these illegals. And do not follow the lead of these delusional white liberals. Because these white liberals, they pretend to be your friend. They pretend to have your best interest at heart. But they're going to be the first ones to throw you under the bus when the shit really hits the fan. Sonny Danielson says, I think they're running facial recognition at the federal buildings to track the paid tards with vans of supplies. Yeah, of course they are. They absolutely are, Sonny. They most definitely are. And that's another reason why ICE is allowing these people to do what they're doing and get away with what they're getting away with. Because they're mapping and monitoring these people. And then in the late night hours, special forces units are going to be deployed to go do these night raids and snatch and grab these motherfuckers. and all these corrupt politicians that are speaking out against ICE and these police these police officials in these democratic cities that are leveling threats against ICE and saying that they're going to arrest ICE agents. They are going to be first in line for these snatch and grab operations, because these people, what they're doing to themselves is they are marking themselves as collaborators with these foreign terrorist organizations. And the members of these foreign terrorist organizations that are residing and operating in the United States illegally, these individuals are going to be marked as foreign enemy combatants. And when you have American politicians and American officials aiding and abetting foreign enemy combatants, those Americans are now considered collaborators in the foreign enemy combat. Thus, they will receive the same treatment or worse that these foreign enemy combatants are receiving. So we got a lot to cover tonight, and I don't know if I'm starting to show off right, but we're here and we're getting it popping. So let's do the damn thing. Okay, we're in the wrong gallery right now. Let's go to the other gallery. Now I got to jump all the way back to the beginning. But we're going to get it. We're going to get it right. We're going to get it right. Don't worry. I've been having a lot of technical difficulties with my StreamYard for some reason lately since I've been talking about these illegals, but we're going to get it right. So make sure you guys go follow me over on Rumble, because the streams that you cannot find on YouTube are available on Rumble. I got hundreds of streams on Rumble that are not available on YouTube due to the censorship. So make sure you guys go follow me over on Rumble and go watch those streams, because there's a lot of information that debunks the fake news narratives that they've been putting out. And I have receipts to prove it. So if you think I'm just going to be on here just talking and telling you shit, you're sadly mistaken, because I show and tell. Because in this day and age where we have a political establishment that is in cahoots with the mainstream media and also have active agents on the internet pushing the same narrative, it's imperative that truth tellers like myself show and prove everything that I'm saying. And a lot of these individuals on social media that are pushing the agenda of the mainstream media and the political left, a lot of these guys, I'm cool with these dudes. Like I consider these guys my brothers, and I just look at it as, you my brother, but we disagree. But when it comes to the fate of America and the fate of our country and the direction that we're headed in, I can't give them any quarter. I can't give them any quarter. There has to be no quarter, because any quarter to the enemy means that they have an operating base and a foothold from which they can operate. And I cannot allow that. My integrity will not allow that, because I know that the propaganda is being pushed by our enemies, and the people who are subscribing to that propaganda and pushing that propaganda, they do not have our best interest at heart. And the newest big push that I see is the liberal democratic establishment trying to get Black Americans, desperately trying to get Black Americans to side with them and help push their anti-ICE agenda. But I have to say this: kudos to my FBAs and my Black American brothers and sisters, because it's a very small minority that are buying into this shit. and the majority of FBA Americans and Black Americans along with this liberal bullshit, because it's been long enough and enough has happened to show them that these illegal aliens in our country are not here to do us any favors. They're not here to work with us. They're not here to help forward our causes. And in fact, they're here to reap the benefits that the Democrat Party has to offer them, because they are going to be the new Democratic voting bloc. And if you don't believe what I'm saying, just consider this. Think about all the billions of dollars that these Democratic sanctuary cities have been given to illegals, and then think about how long Black Americans have been fighting for reparations. And then the picture becomes clear. Wait a second. So you've been promising us reparations for decades now, and we haven't received a dime. But you bring in all these foreign nationals within a 6 to 7 year span, and they've received billions of dollars of taxpayer money. And that right there is the cog in the machine that's going to give Black people something to think about before they just blindly jump out in the streets and start supporting these illegal aliens like the Democratic Party would like them to do. Also, guys, don't forget, follow me on the Citizen Man backup channel over on YouTube, because if they zap me over here on Citizen Man TV, you'll be able to find me on the Citizen Man channel on YouTube. And of course, last but not least, if you guys would like to support the show by sending in a kind donation, you can do so via Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo by using the tags scrolling across the screen in the banner below, the links that are pinned to the top of the YouTube chat. In the black box where it says Citizen Man TV in yellow, just click on the yellow, the box opens up, all the links are there, and you can also find these links in the description box of every video on YouTube and Rumble. And as I always forget to mention, the red X through the PayPal logo is just to remind you guys that PayPal censors comments. So be careful what you say if you send in a PayPal donation and you want to leave a comment. Try to keep it surface level, because they'll try to freeze your account and my account and steal our money. So don't let them do that. All right. So we got directed energy weapons used in Venezuela. We got Russia posturing itself for a massive attack on Israel. Shit's about to go down. Now, in the title, of course, I put NCSWIC, which in Q terms stands for nothing can stop what is coming. But in military terms, NCSWIC stands for the National Council of Statewide Interoperability Coordinators, a federal body under CISA, CISA, that supports state officials in creating seamless emergency communication systems crucial for military-civilian coordination during disasters. Though sometimes mistakenly associated with military only, nothing can stop what is coming merchandise or cyber-themed groups. It's about ensuring police, fire, EMS, and every military unit, and even military units, can talk to each other using shared standards like P25, with a focus on technology, policy, and training, working closely with SAFECOM. So in other words, nothing can stop what is coming. NCSWIC is actually an acronym for the federal organization that coordinates operations between state and federal forces. And what are we seeing? We're seeing federal forces being deployed to these states. And we have some states that are cooperating, and we have other states that are resisting. And within these, and most of these states are Democratic states, of course, and within these Democratic states that are resisting the federal ICE operations, the government officials within these states are putting themselves at risk, because charges will be coming down. The Insurrection Act, I believe, will be enacted eventually, And these individuals that are out here in the public that are Democratic government officials who are blatantly lying to the American people and trying to sucker more American people into supporting this foreign infiltration, they are going to be subject to the Insurrection Act, because not only are they advocating for a foreign infiltration of illegal aliens, but they're also putting out public calls to action for their supporters to commit federal crimes. And that's going to be the linchpin that takes down their whole operation, that gets all these people out. So for those of you who are wondering, like, why isn't Trump arresting these Democrats and why are they still free to walk around and this and that? Well, it's because these people have networks and hierarchies of successors. So if you take down the talking heads at the top, they'll quickly be replaced by other people who are going to continue the mission. So in order to nip it in the bud and cut it all off, you have to cut off the federal funding to this political party that's then distributing this funding to these operatives. And how do you cut off the funding to this political party? You cut off the supply line of the dope and the human trafficking. Thus, the money gets cut off, and the bribery money that they were living off of and shoring up their coffers with now dwindles, and they cannot sustain anymore. And not only are they unable to sustain themselves, but now they'll lack the funding to effectively fight a war. Because when you have local Democratic police officials getting on the internet and getting in the public and getting in press conferences and basically openly declaring war on the federal authorities, this is a state government versus federal government civil war that they're attempting to push. And the only way to shut down that civil war and prevent it from ever happening is to shut down these agent provocateurs who are basically calling for that civil war and asking for funding to support that civil war. And this big push that I see from the liberal left to try to get black people to oppose ICE and join forces with these racist white liberals, it's failing. Because black Americans are like, wait a minute, what the fuck did an immigrant ever do for me? And they're starting to see things for what they are. So in 2020, they were very successful in getting black people to get out in the streets and support the liberal agenda, which consisted of destroying our country from within. But nowadays, it's a lot more difficult for them to get away with doing that, because not only do we live in the age of information where these people have access to more information, different point of views, but they're trying to get black people to advocate for foreigners. And I have to say this, as much as I think Tariq Nasheed is a fag and a lip smacking Mac, and I don't like him and I don't support him, I have to say this: the FBA movement is going to be pivotal in keeping black people out of this fight to support these illegal aliens. Because you got FBA, Foundational Black Americans is what they call themselves. I don't agree with the term because the definition is kind of hazy, but for the sake of for argument's sake, we'll just go along with it. We got these FBAs delineating themselves from foreigners already and embracing their Americanism and their American heritage. So now, with that movement in full swing, when you have the Democratic Party and the mainstream media trying to convince black people to advocate, fight for, and sacrifice themselves for these foreign nationals, these illegal aliens, those FBAs are going to say, wait a minute, we want what's best for America because America is our country, and we are not going to help these foreigners infiltrate America and destroy our fucking country. So it's not working. Their plan is not working. And the reason why they want black people to support this shit is because black Americans tend to be the most influential group of people in the world. There's people in Japan, there's men in Japan that are getting high top haircuts and blowout afro haircuts, and the barbers are actually doing extra shit to their hair to make it curly and nappy to resemble black men's hairstyles. That's how influential Black Americans are culturally. So if the liberal establishment can get Black Americans to start advocating for these illegals, they feel like they got it in the bag, and they'll get the rest of America to go along with it as long as they can get the Black people to go along with it. But thank goodness, thank God, that Black Americans have woken up to their Americanism, and they are not supporting these illegal aliens, of course, except for a few retards that are out there giving their lives, sacrificing life and limb for these illegals. All right, so let's go to the next slide. So part of their propaganda push, and this has been a pivotal, a main part of their propaganda push since Trump took office, to demonize the man and make everybody believe that Trump is this bad guy that does not have America's best interest at heart. But people like me, who have been loyal Trump supporters from the beginning, we say differently. We say Trump has sacrificed his personal wealth. Trump has sacrificed his good name. He sacrificed not only his safety, but the safety of his family in order to try to right the ship and correct what these foreign infiltrators have done to America. And here's a few key facts about Donald Trump that should dispel any notion of him being a bad person. And no other deep state player that's trying to get you to side with the illegals can say this for themselves. Mind you, they're all fucking millionaires. Donald Trump sheltered Jennifer Hudson rent-free after her family was murdered. Donald Trump sent $10,000 to hero bus driver Darnell Barton, black man, after seeing a news story about how he saved a woman from jumping off a bridge. Donald Trump gave the job of constructing Trump Tower to Barbara Ress, making her the first woman in history to build a skyscraper. And this debunks the whole narrative that Trump is anti-woman. And the whole Trump is anti-woman narrative comes from the exact same political party that advocates for women to go out and have abortions and murder their own children and basically desecrate the gift that God gave them, which is the gift of reproducing life. Donald Trump paid to ensure a Mexican-American boy would graduate from college when he saw a news story about his terminally ill mom. Donald Trump dispatched his plane to fly a sick boy for special care when he heard no airline would accommodate his medical equipment. Here's what Trump does when no one is watching. And again, when Trump did all these nice things, he didn't get in the media and brag about it and put it on camera and show it off. These are things he did behind closed doors for no recognition at all, which means he did it out of the goodness of his heart. And these are just a few things, a few acts of kindness that Trump has done throughout his career and throughout his life that the mainstream media that wants to demonize him and the Democratic Party that wants to demonize him refuses to tell you about. But what they'll rather tell you is lies about Trump being, down with Epstein with the pedophilia. They want to tell you lies that Trump is down with the New World Order and helping to bring in their system, which is bullshit. But they'll never once mention these good deeds that Trump has done for random people that he didn't have to do. And all these liberal Democrats that are telling you Trump is bad, when you go look at their own personal track records, there's nothing like this in their track records. They have done nothing for anybody except enrich themselves on the backs of the American people. And those scumbags that have enriched themselves on the backs of the American people are the same scumbags that would have you believe that Trump is some sort of bad guy and some sort of demon. So, peep game. They're not really after illegals, says Ryan Dawson. They're using illegals as an excuse to create a police state aimed at you. Now, this is one of those prominent lies that has not only been parroted in the mainstream media, but we see it being parroted a lot on social media. When I was on the panel with Brother Sanchez, there was some old fried chicken Negro on there that said literally the exact same thing. Oh, Trump is deploying ICE and using a surveillance system because he's going to create a police state. Listen, you fucking idiot. We are already in a police state and we are already under martial law. We've been that way since 9/11 under Bush. You stupid son of a bitch. But the difference with Trump is using that police state apparatus to remove these foreign infiltrators in order to clear the way for American citizens to take advantage of the opportunities afforded to them here. Because since 9/11, under the Patriot Act, the police state had legally and legislatively already been created. And if Trump really wanted to use the police state against American citizens, you know what would have been happening more? Innocent American citizens would have been disappearing, turning up dead, being rendered to secret black sites, and there would have been a big stink about it. Homeland Security already has the ability to tap your cell phone device, tap your laptops, watch you on your webcams, listen to your phone calls, review your text messages, etc. They already have the capability of doing this. So all this whole, oh, Trump is trying to create a police state to come after you bullshit, it's bullshit. Because the Trump administration, thanks to George Bush and the Patriot Act, already has the capability to do that, yet they have not done that. They have not done that. And this is the importance of having a honest and honorable president and commander in chief. Because even with all the power that he has to deploy the full force of the federal government against American citizens, Trump has not done that. But what he has done is he has deployed the full force of the federal government against this illegal alien invasion. And as American citizens, it will be within our best interest to step back, sit down, shut our mouths, and let ICE do their jobs. But again, the Democratic politicians and in these liberal states that are benefiting from the fraud and the drug dealing and the schemes and the criminality that these illegal aliens are engaging in, of course, they're going to defend the illegal aliens, tooth and nail, because not only are the illegal aliens their new voter base, but the illegal aliens are also their new funding source. So please, guys, don't fall for the propaganda, because the police state is already here and there's no need to conduct any, social stunts like ICE raids in order to establish the police state or create the police state, because the police state already exists. But of course, you leave it up to the liberal leftards. They're blissfully unaware of that fact. So they're still under the belief that Trump's trying to create a police state when the police state was already created under George Bush. You stupid sons of bitches. Now, one of the big narratives that the mainstream media and the Democratic Party has been putting out is that Trump is a pedophile and he's down with Epstein. But when you look at who these pedophiles actually are, breaking news, drag queen story hour pedo caught meeting 15-year-old boy. So these same Democrats that have been hosting drag queen story time for these homosexual perverts and these pedophilic perverts that dress like women to come into the public schools and basically groom our children. These same perverts were the ones trying to convince you that Donald Trump was down with Epstein. But au contraire, it's these perverts that are down with the pedophilia. And it's these same perverts and their supporters and their sympathizers that are trying to convince you that the ICE raids are bad. The illegal aliens are not illegal because they're immigrants on stolen land, blah, blah, blah. These are the people that are trying to push that narrative to you. And for Black Americans, these pedos and these perverts are the same ones trying to get you to take to the streets and join forces with these dumbass white liberals and sacrifice yourself in the name of protecting foreign nationals. So if you're FBA and you believe that America has not been fair to you and fair to your ancestors, if you get out there in the streets and join with these white liberals against ICE that's trying to preserve American sovereignty, you're working against your best interest. And you're a fucking idiot. Breaking. Houston Wade, a leftist activist with a long history of calling Republicans and Trump supporters pedophiles, was arrested in Washington after allegedly trying to meet up with an 11-year-old child for sexual activities. So just like I've been fucking telling you this whole time, the same Epstein perverts that are obvious perverts are the same ones trying to convince you that Donald Trump is a pervert like them. They're projecting. Excuse me. Eric Doherty tweeted, liberals are now demanding vetting of any federal agent being sent to Minneapolis. And this fucking clown right here in this video, he says, we have no idea who they are or where they came from. And Eric Doherty says, you literally can't make this up. Liberals are the most hypocritical human beings in the world. And a lot of conservatives seem to share this sentiment. But I disagree. I don't believe they're hypocritical at all. Because you have to have some semblance of free thought in order to be deemed a hypocrite. You have to be conscious of your hypocrisy, in my opinion, to be deemed a hypocrite. But these are not conscious thinking people. These are wind-up toys that do and repeat what they're told. Because just 5-6 years ago, when they were letting in, 7-8 years ago, when they were letting in all these illegals, and the conservatives were saying, hey, we have no idea who they are or where they came from. The white liberals were calling us racist, bigots, and every other name in the book because we were saying this. Now we have United States federal agents removing these illegals from cities across the country, and now these same liberals are pretending as if vetting is important, when vetting didn't mean shit to them when these foreign nationals were coming in. So they're okay with letting in the foreign nationals all willy-nilly without finding out who's who. They're fine with that. But when it's U.S. government federal agents trying to remove these illegal aliens, all of a sudden we want to know who they are. And this is why no sane person in their right mind with access to information and take advantage of that access to information could ever side with the Democratic Party. Because you literally have to be a functioning retard at this point to support the Democratic Party. And unfortunately in America, there is no shortage of those. So this anti-ICE activist that got killed in Minneapolis the other day, Renee Good. You see how crazy? That's her right there. Crazy as batshit. And she's on dope. That's a dope fiend face. Listen, my older brother sold crack for over 2 decades, over a decade and a half, I'll say, just to be conservative. And in my dealings with my own brother, my own big brother, I've seen him do business with these dope fiends and sell them crack. And many of them many of them bear these exact same features and make these exact same facial expressions. And that woman right there that you're looking at, that's a damn dope fiend. And that face, she's high as fuck in that picture right there. She's high as shit. And that's the woman that tried to run over the ICE agent and got shot for it. Renee Good, the woman who was shot by ICE after she attempted to run an ICE agent over, was reportedly part of a local ICE Watch group whose mission was to disrupt ICE operations, per New York Post. She wasn't just a random legal observer, like the media claims. She was a radical anti-ICE activist. And this has been confirmed by the very same anti-ICE activists themselves. So when Kristi Noem comes out and says this woman was a domestic terrorist, she's not lying. When J.D. Vance came out and said this woman is a paid agitator, he was not lying. But of course, the left-wing media and the Democratic Party so desperately want you to believe that these people are lying, because if they can convince you that the Trump administration is lying, then they're one step closer to getting you to believe their propaganda. So when J.D. Vance said this woman was a paid agitator, he was right. And these agitators, part of their mission is to impede ICE using their vehicles. Whether it be impede them by ramming their own vehicles into ICE vehicles, using their vehicles to box in and immobilize ICE vehicles in order to protect the illegal aliens. These anti-ICE protesters are paid operatives. And they're only in it to enrich themselves, because just like they don't care what's best for the American people, they also don't care what's best for these illegal aliens. All they care about is what's best for themselves. Now, the big news is the ICE agent was wrong. This is the leftist narrative. The ICE agent was wrong for shooting this bitch, for hitting him with her car. But get this. This bill was signed into law by Governor Tim Walz, a member of the DFL party, the Democrat Party, on July 23rd, 2020, following a special legislative session. Minnesota statutes 609.066. If a driver accelerates toward an officer standing in front of the vehicle, this creates an immediate life-threatening danger. See, it doesn't say anything about whether the officer actually gets hit or not. It just says if the vehicle is accelerated towards an officer standing in front of it, it's life-threatening danger. The officer doesn't need to wait until the impact. They can act based on the apparent intent and proximity. And that's exactly what that ICE agent did in Minneapolis. And now the entire left-wing media is trying to demonize him for it, when Tim Walz himself signed this bill into law, saying that police can shoot you if you try to run them over with your car. So not only was that ICE agent operating within the legal parameters of his duty in protecting himself, but he was also operating under Minnesota state law. But for some reason, the government of Minnesota is trying to paint this guy out to be some kind of villain and threatening prosecution of ICE agents, which is insurrection in itself. Because when you have state government officials trying to oppose the federal government, who under the Constitution has supreme jurisdiction over the states, well, we're staring down the barrel of a civil war, and that civil war is going to be started by these left-wing lunatics, because they're already killing people. And this is Carter Hughes. And it says, bombshell, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is set to resign within the next week, according to multiple reports from within the Walz campaign. This comes after he was referred for criminal indictment over massive Somali fraud within the state. So Tim Walz had already previously said that he's not running for governor again. But now it seems like he's not going to continue to be governor until the next election. He's going to step down because, well, his state is involved in facilitating massive fraud committed by foreign nationals. So if these foreign nationals are enemy combatants, guess what? Tim Walz is an enemy combatant. And the hammer is coming down. Forced transgender boy quickly returns to normal after removal from mother's care. And the reason why I threw this in there is because that same Renee Good liberal leftist sack of shit that got herself killed, she had a 6-year-old son of her own. And I said previously that one can only imagine the level of sexual depravity that these women are engaging in with that 6-year-old boy in trying to turn him into a girl. And that in itself is child abuse. And once these liberal white women lose custody of their sons and their sons are able to be raised by their fathers in a healthy, normal, functioning environment, the odds of them becoming the next wave of liberal lefty retards become severely diminished. And when I said the trans kid movement is being pushed by these single moms, well, guess what? This is confirmation. Because no sane father who is not a homosexual like Dwayne Wade is going to stand for his son becoming his daughter. No sane man would ever go along with that or co-sign that. So, what did the establishment do? They put out the feminist propaganda to destroy the family, remove the father from the home, keep the kids in the custody of the single mother. Then they start brainwashing the single mother into abusing their children, into thinking abusing their children is cool. Excuse me. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we ended up with the trans kids movement. And oddly enough, that Renee Good woman that got her face shot off by the ICE agent in Minneapolis, she is one of those pro-trans kids activists, which means that her 6-year-old son was more than likely subject to the sexual perversion of these liberal lefties trying to sexually mutilate their sons and other little children, make little boys believe they're little girls and make little girls believe they're little boys. This is sick, demented stuff. And these people are sick, demented individuals. Hang on a second. Let's go to the next slide. So I don't know if you guys saw this video, but I actually put out a 20-minute video addressing what this sheriff said. Now, this woman is the sheriff of Philadelphia County, and she put out a video in response to the Renee Good shooting, and she made several statements, 3 in particular, that are categorically false and are complete lies. And if you notice, the small hats and the white men that are pushing this agenda by way of the Democratic Party, they're not the ones getting up on camera and making fools of themselves as much. But in Philadelphia, they're using this black woman to make a fool of herself because, well, they already know she's retarded because she supports the party of slavery and segregation and the KKK. But not only that, she was very cheap to buy off because without this cushy DEI job that she got as the county sheriff, she'd be shoveling shit somewhere. And one of the lies that she told was that ICE was a fake made-up law enforcement agency by Trump. But it turns out that ICE was formed as part of the Homeland Security Act of 2002, which means ICE was actually created by George Bush long before Donald Trump. So that was the first lie she told. The next lie she told was that cops don't wear masks. Well, it turns out that cops do wear masks. Cops wear covered faces for officer safety, but it sparks debate over transparency, accountability, and community trust. And the only reason why I'm going over this, even though I already put out a video about it, is because I know a lot of you haven't seen the video, and because of my shadow banning, you probably won't. But every politician that's trying to sell you the narrative that law enforcement does not wear masks, when you go back through the history books, they were the same ones pushing masks in 2020. And they're lying to you now because law enforcement does wear masks, as AI just confirmed. But you don't even need AI to confirm it. All you have to do is get on Google, as rigged as it is, and type in SWAT team drug raid and click images. And what you'll see is images of different SWAT raids where SWAT members are wearing face coverings. So what this goofy broad was saying about cops not wearing masks is an absolute lie. But of course, they got to use the stupid Negroes to tell the lies, because when the lies get exposed and somebody's got to get thrown under the bus for lying, well, you get this goofy Negro out of here, and then we could put in one of our real operatives. Another lie she told is that the district attorney of Philadelphia can lock up ICE agents. That's bullshit. The supremacy clause provides immunity for federal agents over the state. Also, the removal to federal court. A federal agent that's charged in state court literally has the right to opt for a federal trial rather than a state trial. So even if the states try to prosecute these ICE agents, and if the ICE agents were to simply elect to have their case be heard in federal court, the states lose all power and all jurisdiction. States do not have legal jurisdiction over federal agents. And these Democrats and these domestic terrorists that are lying to you would have you falsely believe that. Because if in fact what these ICE agents did was murder, like the fake news and the left-wing media would have you believe, you best believe Homeland Security would have fired them, which means they would have been stripped of their immunity, and they would have been brought up on state charges already. But what do we see instead? We see these Democratic state politicians putting out this narrative, doing all this tough talk, pushing this rhetoric. And when the rubber meets the road, they do nothing. They do absolutely nothing. Now, the woman in this picture is Rochelle Bilal, and she is the Philadelphia County Sheriff, right? Separate from the Philadelphia City Police and this Philadelphia Police Chief. And oddly enough, after she did this press conference, riddled with the lies that she told, the Philadelphia Police Department Chief, Kevin Bethel, quickly released a statement clarifying that the city is policed/patrolled by his department and not hers. So she's not even really a real cop. We reminded everyone that her department, the Philadelphia Sheriff's Office, is only responsible for court security, prisoner transport, service of processes, and sheriff sales. So this woman is literally not even a real cop. So while she's criticizing ICE for not being real cops, she ain't no real cop. And the Philadelphia chief of police, who himself may be a Democrat, I don't know, even he had to call it out because that's how ridiculous her lies were. Now, we talked about the Renee Good shooting in Minneapolis, but what's not being talked about is there's a couple other shootings that happened involving federal agents that's not being talked about. U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents have shot 2 people in Portland. Federal agents have reportedly opened fire, leaving a man and woman wounded in Portland, Oregon. With tensions already at a breaking point, excuse me, following the recent events in Minneapolis, local leaders are pleading for calm while the FBI and Portland police scramble to piece together exactly what led federal agents to pull the trigger. According to the official reports, at least 2 people were shot and wounded by U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents. And as the investigation deepens, the city remains on edge, waiting for answers in the wake of this sudden violence. So the 2 people that got shot in Portland happened to be Venezuelan illegal immigrants, illegal aliens, Tren de Aragua gang members, and wanted for murder. And when they were pulled over by the Portland police and ICE was going to affect the arrest to have them removed from the country, they decided to, whoever it was that was driving the car, decided to floor the pedal, almost run over a Customs and Border Protection agent, and got both of them shot the fuck up. Because when you weaponize your vehicle against law enforcement, that is a deadly weapon. Law enforcement is now authorized to use deadly force. And the people that are trying to make you believe that ICE was wrong for shooting Renee Good, they are pushing the Democrat propaganda. That's all they're doing. They are not truth tellers. They're not about the truth. They don't have your best interest in heart. And their only goal is to do what they were paid to do, which is promote the Democrat agenda. Minneapolis public schools will offer remote learning while ICE is in the city. And the remote learning means they're going to shut down the public schools again and have kids do that online classes bullshit that they tried to do in 2020, which caused many students' grades to decline, because without that personal interaction in the classroom, their ability to progress and learn is very limited. But Minneapolis is closing down their public schools while ICE is there, because a lot of these illegal aliens that reside in Minneapolis, their kids are enrolled in the public schools. So what ICE has been doing is they've been going to the public schools and taking these illegal alien children into custody, which forces their parents to come out of the shadows and try to get their children out of custody. And what it results in is them being removed from the country totally, being deported back to their home country. So Minneapolis is closing down the schools in order to try to make themselves look innocent. They're closing down the public schools in order to thwart ICE. But all that's going to result in is ICE going door to door and finding out who these agitators and these funders are and shutting that shit down. And again, these leftist propagandists are protesting and impeding, all on the behalf of illegal aliens. ICE releases disturbing list of criminal illegal immigrants arrested in Minnesota that Renee Good was trying to protect. And that's the thing. It still blows my mind to see so many American citizens advocating for these foreign nationals as hard as they are. And when you look at the groups of American citizens that are advocating for these foreign nationals, the vast majority of that group is white liberal women. So Shredorn Favan, a Laotian illegal alien convicted of strong-arm sodomy of a boy and strong-arm sodomy of a girl with a deportation order since 2018. This is who these left-wing activists in the Democratic Party wants to protect and keep in our country. Tao Vang, a Laotian illegal alien convicted of sexual assault and sodomy of a girl under age 13 and procuring a child for prostitution with a deportation order since 2006. Chong View, a Laotian illegal alien convicted of the strong-arm rape of a 12-year-old girl and kidnapping a child with intent to sexually assault her, with a deportation order since 2004. Guy Yang, a Laotian illegal alien convicted of strong-arm rape, aggravated assault with a weapon, and the strangulation with a deportation order, since 2012. And these are people who are amongst the group of illegal aliens that the Democratic Party is trying to stop ICE from removing. So the Democratic Party would literally have murderers and rapists having free reign in our country than having law and order under the presidency of Donald Trump. These liberal lefties do not have your best interest at heart. They are not your friends. And their goal is to help the international order destroy America and rebuild America in their image, which is under one world government. Fao Xiaoxiang, a Laotian illegal alien, convicted of rape and child fondling with a deportation order since 2003. Kulor, a Laotian illegal alien convicted of rape with a weapon, and sexual assault with a deportation order since 1996. Hernan Cortez Valencia, Mexican illegal alien convicted of sexual assault of a child and DUI with a deportation order since 2016. Abdirashid Adosh Elmi, a Somalian illegal alien convicted of homicide. Gilberto Salguero Landaverde, excuse me, a Salvadoran illegal alien convicted of 3 counts of homicide with a deportation order since June 2025. And this is who the Democrats want you to protect. Gabriel Figueroa Gama, a Mexican illegal convicted of homicide who has been previously deported in 2020. Gulauk Michael Rotgai, a Sudanese illegal alien convicted of homicide. Tai Lor, a Laotian illegal alien convicted of 2 counts of homicide with a deportation order since 2009. Mariana Sai Kanu, an illegal alien from Sierra Leone convicted of 2 counts of homicide with a deportation order since 2022. Aldrin Guerrero Munoz, a Mexican illegal alien convicted of homicide with a deportation order since 2015. Abdirashid Mohammed Ahmed, a Somalian illegal alien convicted of manslaughter with a deportation order since 2022. Mangong Dual Manyang Deng, a Sudanese illegal alien convicted of attempt to commit homicide, weapons possession, and DUI. Alir Gomez Lucas, a Guatemalan illegal alien convicted of negligent homicide with a vehicle and DUI with a deportation order since 2022. Shui Hutu, a Burmese illegal alien convicted of negligent homicide. ICE says all of these criminal aliens are roaming freely in the sanctuary state of Minnesota prior to arrest, and that these are the type of people the politicians and activists are referring to as their neighbors as they attempt to interfere with ICE. And again, the reason why they're interfering with ICE is not necessarily to protect these illegals, even though that's what they're doing. Their interference with ICE is to undermine the authority of the federal government, which they were able to do during the Biden era. But now that we're in the time of Trump ain't having that shit. Jesse Ventura, he was the former governor of Minnesota. He calls Donald Trump a draft-dodging coward and says the United States is a third world country now. And Jesse Ventura calling Donald Trump a draft dodging coward and then following it by calling the United States a third world country obviously implies that it's due to Donald Trump's presidency that the United States has become a third world country. But that's not the case. Donald Trump is actually trying to pull the United States out of the path of becoming a third world country and return economic stability and greatness to America. So Jesse Ventura is full of shit right here. And to be honest with you, I never took Jesse Ventura seriously, and I never saw him as a real advocate for truth, because when he had that TV show Conspiracy Theories, all they ever talked about in broadcasts was shit that we already knew about. They never gave us anything new, anything groundbreaking, or anything that was exclusive. We already knew about every agenda that show Conspiracy Theories was trying to tell us about. And just the mere fact that he even had a TV show lets you know that he's part of the establishment. And here's the thing. Even if Donald Trump was a draft dodging coward, right? Does that have any bearing on the current job that he's doing as the commander-in-chief of the United States of America? To me, no, it doesn't. It has no bearing at all. And if that's Jesse Ventura's stance, then where's Jesse Ventura's criticism of Muhammad Ali for being a draft dodging coward? But we don't recognize Muhammad Ali as a draft dodging coward, even though he dodged a draft and went to jail for 5 years over it, right? We recognize Muhammad Ali for everything he did during the course of his career as a professional boxer. Muhammad Ali is one of the greatest boxers, if not the greatest boxer that ever walked the face of the earth. He dodged the draft too. So that nullifies Jesse Ventura's statement that Donald Trump is a draft dodging coward. It takes away all validity from that statement, because that statement has no bearing on the job that Donald Trump is doing as president, just like calling Muhammad Ali a draft dodging coward has no bearing on the job he did as a professional fighter in solidifying his legacy. So, in my opinion, this statement by Jesse Ventura, all it does is it serves as a marker to let me know that Jesse Ventura himself is also part of the establishment, and he does not have the American people's best interest at heart. And by him saying America is a third world country now, implying that it's Donald Trump's fault that America is a third world country, that too is a blatant lie. Because when you look at the politicians that have been in support of these third world policies, they're all Democrats. The Democrats are the ones that turned America into a third world country. And guess how they did it? By inviting millions and millions of people from third world populations into our country. That's how they did it. And again, Jesse Ventura lost me when they gave him that lame-ass TV show where he pretended to expose a bunch of shit that we already knew. So, fuck Jesse Ventura. But in the wake of us seeing this left-wing, this turn up by the left wing, the Democrat Party with their rhetoric, the paid operatives with their incitement, and the blind followers who are taken to the streets, it's all coming right in the wake of a grand jury being assembled for that crossfire hurricane situation, which was when the Obama administration back in 2016 and 2017 was spying on Donald Trump. That's a big fucking deal. So George Papadopoulos tweets this, and he says, just in, a grand jury has been ordered by a federal judge to be impaneled in Fort Pierce, Florida on January 12th, 2026. Crossfire Hurricane, the CIA Five Eyes operation, and the raid on Mar-a-Lago under scrutiny. So the Mar-a-Lago raid is under scrutiny, which means Jack Smith's name might be mentioned in these indictments. And the grand jury that is being impaneled in Fort Pierce, Florida, they might also rule in favor of the Trump administration's claim that the Obama administration that was supposed to be leaving office was spying on them. So the Obama people are about to get indicted. And oddly enough, as the Obama people are about to get indicted, what do we see? Unrest in the streets. What do we see? Anti-ICE riots in the streets. They're trying to distract and deflect. Now, I don't know how many of you guys have heard about this situation, this story, or seen this headline, but it says FBI arrests 12 sitting judges who took millions in bribes by Sinaloa cartel. Bet the liberal news stations won't be discussing this big win for America. And this video it's available on YouTube, but it's an AI video. The narrator of the video is obviously an AI avatar. But just because the video telling you about the arrests is AI does not necessarily mean that the news report itself is false. Which means that even though you can't find anything in any alternative sources about these 12 judges being arrested for taking bribes from the cartels, that does not mean that these 12 judges got arrested. Because I looked up 12 federal judges stepping down once I got wind of that article. And here is what Google said. The 12 federal judges stepping down likely refers to the Trump administration's firing of 12 immigration judges in late 2025, part of the broader actions against immigration court officials, creating significant vacancies and controversy. Though some sources conflate these firings with general remedies or other unrelated judicial news with actual Article 3 lifetime appointed judge vacancies remaining much lower and shifting due to political dynamics. So excuse me. Although there are no public reports of 12 federal judges being arrested by the Trump administration for taking cartel bribes, there is a public report of 12 immigration judges mysteriously stepping down. And that could be part of the play, because once they get indicted, they have to step down or they'll be fired. So, of course, I went to justicedepartment.gov, and this is what they said. The Justice Department announces 2 cases involving judicial misconduct and obstruction of law enforcement. And this was the case with in Wisconsin with Judge Hannah Dugan. What the fuck? What the fuck is going on? Looks like my camera was unplugged. What the hell? All right, fuck it. I'm not even on screen, so fuck it. All right, can y'all see that? Yeah. Justice Department announces 2 cases involving judicial misconduct and obstruction of law enforcement. And these 2 cases, one was Hannah Dugan, Judge Hannah Dugan in Wisconsin, that when ICE showed up to her courtroom to basically arrest the illegal alien that was due to appear in front of her, she helped the illegal alien escape. And that's obstruction. But that's not the extent of the obstruction, because obstruction also involves stopping ICE agents from even getting to the location where they're due to pick up suspects. Ex-judge of Donna Ana County charged with evidence tampering, and Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge charged with unlawful obstruction and concealment. Right? So there's 2 cases of judges being criminally charged, and slide 29 mentions 12 cases of immigration judges being fired, right? So it doesn't necessarily negate this claim, but here's the icing on the cake. Federal judges taking bribes from Sinaloa cartels. I searched it up on Mexico because that's what the video said, right? And this is what the AI response gave me. There have been instances of corruption involving high-ranking officials in Mexico, such as Genaro Garcia Luna, who accepted bribes from the Sinaloa cartel. But specific cases of federal judges in the U.S. taking bribes from the cartel are not widely reported. So even the AI couldn't say that federal judges aren't known for taking bribes from the cartels at all, because here they admitted it without admitting it, that other federal judges have taken bribes from the cartels. And this is why we see so many rulings against Trump's agenda, no matter how ridiculous it is, because these are cartels that are participating in this process. And this is what happens when you open up your border and you allow foreign entities to gain a foothold within your country. Now they have a political voice, which means eventually their voices are going to drown your voice out. Truth bomb. Trump was indicted for pressuring Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to investigate election integrity in his state. 5 years later, Georgia admits they illegally certified 315,000 ballots in the 2020 election, handing Biden a win by 11,779 votes. So the Democratic Party and their foreign infiltrators most definitely stole the election on behalf of the Biden campaign. And a lot of those election funds came from the drug trafficking rings. And even though the state of Georgia went so far as to try to charge Trump for questioning the election results, now not only do they have to walk back those charges, but they also have to admit that their election results in the 2020 election are questionable. So Trump hit 2 birds with 1 stone right there. But on the international stage, Promethean action. Trump isn't going to Davos to negotiate. He's delivering terms of surrender. His team has already withdrawn from 66 globalist bodies and is tracking the money behind domestic chaos. The real offensive is underway. That's right. And with these ICE raids and these anti-ICE riots that these fake protesters are staging, they're weeding themselves out. They're putting themselves out in the public to where the feds can document who they are, and the feds will be going after them later in midnight military raids with trucks or helicopters. Doesn't matter. So last night we talked about, or last show, I told you guys about Vladimir Putin evacuating Russians from the Israeli embassy. And this all comes in the wake of the Iranian leader basically threatening to attack Israel. So with Iran threatening to attack Israel, Putin's pulling all his people out of Israel. But as Putin pulls all his people out of Israel, he's also removing Israelis from his country. which means the Israeli spies that are embedded in Russia will not have the ability to undermine or thwart what Russia has planned for Israel. And I think what Russia has planned for Israel is not only the infiltration of their Muslim country, the enemy Muslim countries that surround Israel, but he will probably allow those Muslims to set up a caliphate, and the Israelis will then become the slave class because they're the minority in that region. So shout out to Putin. So when I told you after Venezuela, Israel is next, based on what Vladimir Putin is doing and saying, it seems like that could possibly be true. And it's all going to happen over Greenland, because Greenland is under the control of Denmark, and Denmark is a part of the EU, the European Union. And Vladimir Putin just had a meeting with European Union leaders where he said that if Europe does not want to negotiate on fair terms, Russia is going to take action, and there'll be nobody left in the EU to negotiate. So that's a pretty clear threat. And of course, the people online, the talking heads in the mainstream media and on social media, are trying to make you believe that Trump and Putin are going to go to war over Greenland. No, they won't. And the reason why they won't is because with America seizing control of Greenland and taking it away from the EU, that drastically changes their domestic nationwide policies, which then makes it more profitable for the U.S. to do trade with Russia by way of Greenland. Because if you look at the Earth maps, flat Earth or globe Earth, doesn't matter. If you look at the maps, Greenland is very close to the United States, and it's also very close to Russia. It's to open up a northward trade line to Russia, Europe, and the Middle East. And if Israel sees it fit to get in the way of that, they'll have all those Middle Eastern countries that they've been bombing indiscriminately to answer to. And Trump will not help them. And the reason why Trump won't help them is because Trump made a deal with Putin and Xi Jinping of China to not intervene with his Venezuela operation. And Russia and China, although they had a lot to say, they didn't do nothing about it. So this time around, when enemies of Israel start to collapse in on Israel, and the Russian military asks for help or the U.S. military is asked for help, the answer will be no. Support will not come, and you will meet your fate, whatever that fate may be. So when you see a country like Russia kicking the Israelis out of their country, that means something's about to go down. Now, the New York Post reported about the Venezuela raid that there was some sort of mystery weapon that brought Venezuelan soldiers to their knees during Maduro raid. And I have for you guys a short witness account. One of Maduro's security guards describing what he witnessed the night of the raid. And Bricks News tweeted, United States used mysterious weapon during the raid to capture Nicolas Maduro, leaving Venezuelan soldiers bleeding and vomiting, New York Post reports. We all started bleeding from the nose. Some were vomiting blood. We fell to the ground, unable to move. We couldn't even stand up after that sonic weapon or whatever it was. So all those directed energy weapons that we were being taught about in the past and told to be afraid of because it's coming and this and that, well, guess what? Trump's got them and he's using them. Now, Carolyn Leavitt says, stop what you were doing and read this. And Mike Netter person, he says, this account from a Venezuelan security guard loyal to Nicolas Maduro is absolutely chilling, and it explains a lot about why the tone across Latin America suddenly changed. And it's funny that he said that because after the Maduro raid, the president of Colombia, who was gearing up to quote unquote fight a war against America, he then changed his tune and he's now bowing the knee to Trump. And their tune suddenly changed because the Trump administration is in possession of weapons that have been deployed that are capable of taking down entire armies. And there's not a goddamn thing that the victims of those weapons can do. And the best part about it is those weapons are non-lethal. So Mike Netter posted this, and it says, security guard says, on the day of the operation, we don't hear anything coming. We were on guard, but suddenly all our radar systems shut down without explanation. The U.S. military activated some sort of jammer that cut off the signal. The next thing we saw were drones, a lot of drones flying over our positions. We didn't know how to react. And the drones were sent out to surveil the landscape and see how spread out the manpower was. So the interviewer says, so what happened next? How was the main attack? And the security guard says, after those drones appeared, which basically marked their locations, some helicopters arrived, but there were very few. I think barely 8 helicopters. From those helicopters, soldiers came down, but a very small number, maybe 20 men. So Trump sent in a team of 20 spec operators to snatch Maduro. That leads me to believe that either Trump had overwhelming superior firepower that caused Maduro's security to stand down, or Maduro agreed to be snatched and grabbed. Maybe 20 men, but those men were technologically very advanced. They didn't look like anything we fought against before. And the interviewer asks, and then the battle began? And the security guard answers and says, yes, but it was a massacre. We were hundreds, but we had no chance. They were shooting with such precision and speed. It seemed like each soldier was firing 300 rounds per minute. We couldn't do anything. Yep, that sounds like U.S. Special Forces. And the interviewer says, and your own weapons, didn't they help? And the security guard responds and says, no help at all, because it wasn't just the weapons. At one point, they launched something. I don't know how to describe it. It was like a very intense sound wave. That's your directed energy weapon being activated. Suddenly, I felt like my head was exploding from the inside. We all started bleeding from the nose. Some were vomiting blood. We fell to the ground, unable to move. That sounds like a cymatic/microwave weapon to me. And the fact that it didn't kill them means that it was on a very low frequency. So then the interviewer asks, and your comrades, did they manage to resist? And the security guard says, no, not at all. Those 20 men without a single casualty killed hundreds of us. We had no way to compete with their technology, with their weapons. I swear I've never seen anything like it. We couldn't even stand up after the sonic weapon. Let me see if I can get the bottom part of that. Shit. After the sonic weapon or whatever it was. So Trump's troops deployed some sort of sonic cymatic sound weapon, which can be broadly classified as directed energy weapons. The Trump administration used a directed energy weapon, which gave 20 men the tactical advantage over hundreds of armed men, and they didn't stand a chance. And this is probably why the president of Colombia is more than willing to play ball with Trump now, because they're afraid of the weaponry that Trump has. Interviewer says, so do you think the rest of the region should think twice before confronting the Americans? The security guard says, without a doubt. I'm sending a warning to anyone who thinks they can fight the United States. They have no idea what they're capable of. After what I saw, I never want to be on the other side of that again. They're not to be messed with. And the interviewer says, and now that Trump has said Mexico is on the list, do you think the situation will change in Latin America? And the security guard says, definitely. Everyone is already talking about this. No one wants to go through what we went through. Now everyone thinks twice. What happened here is going to change a lot of things, not just in Venezuela, but throughout the region. So the Trump administration is documented for using directed energy weapons against the Venezuelan military in order to capture Maduro. And this is very, very important to note, because what's happening with the ICE raids, if you guys have been watching the videos and paying attention to social media, in the ICE raids, these ICE agents are being met with mass resistance from large crowds of people who are all committing the crime of impeding federal officers and obstructing federal operations, which are felony charges. But the thing is, there's so many of them that only a few could be sought after and captured, arrested, tried, and imprisoned. But what about the rest of them? Well, I believe that the directed energy weapons that were used in Venezuela are going to be used against the anti-ICE protesters here in the United States if they get rowdy and violent enough. I honestly believe that. And what's crazy is we got these news stories circling around, not only about Renee Good, but there's another guy by the name of Keith Porter Jr., who got shot in Los Angeles by an off-duty ICE agent. And that story about Keith Porter Jr. is in play in an attempt to get American citizens, mainly Black American citizens, to turn against ICE. Because if they get the majority of Americans to turn against ICE, or at least a large enough minority to turn against ICE, that means that, excuse me, especially with Black Americans, that means to them that they'll be able to get more Americans to turn against ICE as well and defend the illegal aliens being in the country, which means those protesters will simultaneously be propping up the cartel operations here in the United States. So let's take a look at a couple of articles here. Now, this is the story right here about the brother that got shot by ICE on New Year's Eve. And that's him right there. Looks like a pretty decent fella. He doesn't look like one of those dumbed down lefty liberals with blue hair and want to support the illegals and all that shit. He just looks like a regular nigga, right? So the LA Times is reporting the U.S. Department of Homeland Security said an off-duty ICE agent was responding to an active shooter when he gunned down Keith Porter Jr. on New Year's Eve in Northbridge. Porter's family and their attorney contend he was firing a gun into the air and posed no threat. The LAPD and LA County District Attorney's Office have said they are investigating the incident, but a charging decision could take years. So basically what happened is this brother was on New Year's Eve in a populated apartment complex firing shots out of his assault style rifle, whether it be an AK, AR-15, into the air, right? And if you look at point 2 on this LA Times article, it says Porter's family and their attorney contend he was firing a gun into the air and posed no threat. That is a flat out lie. because bullets that go up eventually must come down. And if you're firing bullets into the air in a city, in a populated area, in a metropolitan populated area, those bullets will come down, and there's a very good chance that people will get hurt, which means you do pose a threat. And what happened in this situation was that the cops, or not the cops, the individual that was firing his rifle in the air on New Year's Eve was confronted by ICE agents, or not by an ICE agent, but not by ICE agents, but by an ICE agent, right? And when he was confronted by that ICE agent, some things transpired, and it resulted in that ICE agent shooting and killing him, which I think is pretty fucked up. But here's the thing, here's the kicker. If you're outside firing live rounds into the air and you're in a populated area, that is a felony. That is a felony. So as fun as it is to do, and as cool as it is to do, and I've fired my weapons, on New Year's Eves plenty of times, but what I do is I fire into the ground. I don't shoot into the air. Because I've seen the horror stories of individuals getting hit by random bullets falling from the air, and it's tragic and it's terrifying. So with this guy firing his weapon into the air, he was putting innocent lives in danger. And the story goes, when the ICE agent rolled up on him, the ICE agent who lived in that apartment complex warned him to put the rifle down, and he never put the rifle down, thus he got shot. Homeland Security is reporting that there was an exchange of gunfire, meaning, in my opinion, when the ICE agent rolled up on him and saw him shooting the rounds in the air, and told him to drop the rifle because he was going to be placed under arrest. He then turned that rifle on the ICE agent and opened fire on the ICE agent, which forced the ICE agent to respond with his gunfire, killing the suspect. And what I notice is the mainstream media and the blackety black paid agents on social media are attempting to use this case as a catalyst to galvanize black people against ICE, because the law enforcement officer that happened to shoot this guy happened to be an off-duty ICE officer. And of course, they've been pushing the narrative that ICE is coming after American citizens and they want to do the worst of American citizens and blah, 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 blah. But the fact of the matter is, this guy got killed because he was out there being stupid. And because he was out there being stupid and got himself killed, the Renee Good situation isn't fitting enough for another George Floyd, but this situation might be. So now they're trying to spin it as if this guy didn't fucking shoot at the Homeland Security officer. Because when Homeland Security says there was an exchange of gunfire, that means this guy was shooting in the air. When the ICE agent rolled up on him and told him drop the rifle, he then turned the rifle on the ICE agent, started shooting at the ICE agent. The ICE agent ended up killing him. Because I'll tell you right now, if he was shooting his gun in the air and a law enforcement officer, whether on duty or off duty, drew a weapon on him and told him put the rifle down, he would have put the rifle down. So all this hype about, the ICE agent shooting him and it being murder and all, it's bullshit. It's all bullshit. Just like the lies about Renee Good being shot by the ICE agent and she's some innocent victim. It's bullshit. It's all bullshit. And they're trying to use this story now to galvanize Black Americans to get them in support of the Democratic Party and get them in support of protecting the illegal aliens. But thank God that Black Americans have woken up to their Americanism And they're not in support of these illegal aliens anymore. So, although these black liberal propagandists are out there trying to sell you this narrative that ICE is racist and they just running around killing people, there's more sensible people out there like myself and like you guys who can see through that bullshit. And we know that bullshit when we see it. Now, granted, this guy Keith Porter Jr., he looked like a nice guy. You know, he looked like a dude. I'll be honest with you, he looks like a guy I would hang out with and chop it up with and have a conversation with. But the unfortunate thing about the whole situation is the left-wing mainstream media propaganda has become so pervasive in the mainstream media that it's bled over into social media. And a lot of these people who follow social media get fed the same propaganda. And that propaganda is enough to cause you to crash out, lose it, and ruin your life. And this man lost his fucking life because he believed the mainstream media propaganda. Because if you're in a populated city and you're firing a weapon with live rounds into the air, anybody can fucking shoot you down because you are endangering lives. You're raining bullets down on a populated area. And there's been enough cases and enough precedences set to show how dangerous and deadly that can be. So don't let Black Lives Matter and the mainstream media sucker you into supporting illegal aliens and going, you know, and opposing and impeding ICE just because some idiot black dude got himself shot because he was firing a rifle in the fucking air. Like, don't let that shit get to you. Don't let that shit derail you. Understand what is at stake here and what we're actually fighting for. And what we're actually fighting for is the sovereignty of our nation. Now, when it comes to the shooting of the married couple in Oakland, which they're also trying to use as a catalytic case to demonize ICE, the details they're not telling you. DHS alleged Trende Aragua member shot by border agent in Portland entered the U.S. illegally near El Paso. Okay? And that's the couple. That's the husband. That's the wife, of course. And the wife looks like she is batshit crazy and done been ran through. El Paso, Texas. The Department of Homeland Security has released the identities of two individuals shot by a Border Patrol agent in Southeast Portland. One of the people shot, who is a suspected Trende Aragua member, allegedly entered the U.S. illegally through El Paso. The individuals identified as Luis David Nico Moncada and Yorlenis Betzabeth Zabrano Contreras are described by officials as criminal illegal immigrants from Venezuela. Moncada is this. What the fuck is this? Moncada, a Trende Aragua gang, DHS officials said. He entered the U.S. illegally in 2022 and was released into the country by the Biden administration. The fuck? Illegal immigrants. Mercado suspected being a gang member training ideas. He entered the U.S. illegally in 2022 and was released into the country by the Biden administration, according to DHS. There we go. Since then, he has been arrested for DUI and unauthorized use of a vehicle and has a final order of removal, officials said. Zambrano Contreras is allegedly associated with the Trende Aragua prostitution ring and was involved in a prior shooting in Portland, federal officials said. She entered the U.S. illegally in 2023 near El Paso, Texas, and was also released into into the country by the Biden administration, DHS officials said. And again, that's the two of them right there. And the crazy thing about it is this. These people are foreign operatives. They are foreign individuals who reside in this country and were brought to this country by a corrupt administration. Excuse me. And this corrupt administration has been harboring them and subsidizing them for many, many years since they've been here. And now that their foothold in the United States has become so deeply entrenched, heavy-handed tactics by the Trump administration are necessary to get these people the fuck out of here. But once these people are gone, if we have a president that's loyal to the United States of America as Donald Trump is, once these riots are mopped up and these illegals are gone and these ICE agents return back to their normal federal day-to-day duty, life will begin to get better for Americans. Because I agree with a lot of you lefties that this police state thing is a bad thing. But where I disagree is that it's not coming, it's already here. It's just aimed at a different group of people. And that's a legitimate fear. The more power you give the government is the greater of a chance of them using that power against you. And that's valid. I can't take that away from anybody who would make that claim. But when you're dealing with a situation where there's this ongoing debate, but the debate is based on one side blatantly lying and the other side simply trying to tell the truth, well, the solution to that is pretty clear cut. You go with whoever's telling the truth. And when I say that Trump is collapsing their system of control, part of their system of control involved these Democratic politicians who have been receiving the shipments of cocaine from the Colombian cartels and the Mexican cartels and the Venezuelan shippers and all that into the United States and living comfortably. That is what these elites want to do. That is what they wanted to do, and they want to do it on the backs of we, the American people. But it's not going to happen because Trump has torpedoed all of their plans. And now Trump is talking about a land operation in Mexico, which involves bombing or invading cartel targets in Mexico. And you know what I say? I say do it. Or at least be prepared to do it. Because Claudia Sheinbaum, that Mexican Jew, she might actually be willing to negotiate. She might just be willing to negotiate. But in the event that she's not, let Trump take Greenland. Putin's going to respond somehow. And the EU is going to try to come at either Trump or Putin, and Putin's going to respond to them. And oddly enough, Putin has been making threats against the European Union recently, right? And at the same time, Putin's been threatening the European Union. Donald Trump has been talking about annexing Greenland. But Greenland is supposed to be under the military protection and control of Denmark, which is a European Union country. But if Greenland is under U.S. and Russian control, and the Russians decide to set up a base as close to Greenland as possible, the landmass that Denmark once owned, called Greenland, now falls under the control of whoever's flying Greenland, whoever's flying the planes over Greenland. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I think that's the way it's going to break down. But Russia's going to get a piece, and the United States is going to get a piece. And Russia and the United States are going to posture as if they're against each other and their enemies, just like they did before Venezuela. And after Venezuela, what do you see? Russia not doing or saying shit to the United States. Russia is talking to the EU now. So I think between Trump's Greenland move and Vladimir Putin's European Union move, this will be the final nail in the coffin for the international elite establishment. And when I say nothing can stop what is coming, the arrest of Maduro will reveal all of the American politicians that are taking bribes from the cartels at the very least. And the illegal immigration and the push to try to get black people to support these illegal aliens, that's going to backfire on them. That's going to blow up in their face. And black people, I can't stress this enough. Listen to me closely. If you don't hear anything else I say, listen to what I'm saying right now. Do not let these white liberals convince you to go out in the streets and start advocating for these illegal aliens. Do not fall for that shit. Because I'm going to be real with you. I fuck with Trump. I support Trump. But at the same time, I know how diabolical his administration can be. And what I believe is going to happen is now that there's all this escalating violence against ICE to the point where if ICE dares to defend themselves, they get brought up on criminal charges. I believe that the Trump administration is going to start using these same type of directed energy weapons against the anti-ICE protesters like they used against the security forces in Venezuela. And the reason why, another reason aside from the cultural influence, why the Democratic Party is now using these other stories to try to rope black people into supporting illegal aliens and opposing ICE, I believe that the other part of that, hold on, let me. Okay, yeah, to black people, black Americans, these lefty liberals are going to convince you to go out in the streets and start advocating for these illegals and joining them in their protests and their violent impeding of federal officers. And what that's going to result in is when the Trump administration decides to employ the directed energy weapons, guess who's going to be subject to that shit? That's right, your dumbass who chose to support and aid and abet these illegal aliens. That's what's about to happen. So if you're smart as a black American, you would know, you know what? I don't like you. You would take this position. I don't like Trump. I don't like the shit that he does. But I also don't like the fact that foreign nationals are flooding into my country and reaping the benefits of my labor. And that tension right there is what's going to cause the division. And you're going to start to see more corporations and more private entities going with the right wing rather than the left wing nonsense, because they're going to start to see that the left wing nonsense is dying down because lies cannot stand up to truth. So please, please, please do not let these lefty liberals sucker you into that racist shit. Because to be honest with you, we don't even know if those stories are even true. We don't know if half the stories we talk about are true. And the only reason why I know that the stuff that I talk about is true is because I search and I research. You know what the word research means? You can't research unless you do an initial search. So I do my initial search and then I search some more. I don't get these answers, and they don't come to me in my dreams or from some sort of shaman or some shit like that. No. I do research. I study the chessboard. Do not let these lefty liberals convince you that ICE agents don't have a right to defend themselves. Do not let them convince you that impeding federal officers is okay and it's not a crime, because that's going to lead to more death. These Democrats are trying to bring in a whole new foreign population because they know that those foreigners, if they get given enough help and support and money, they will vote Democrat. And without those people, the Democratic Party doesn't have a leg to stand on. And all these lies about the ICE agent being at fault in the shooting and with Renee Good and all that shit, it's all Democratic propaganda and bullshit. And I was very disappointed because I was scrolling earlier and I saw my brother Information Man talking about that shooting, and he was siding with the liberals. But Information Man is another one of those Trump haters. He's been programmed to hate Donald Trump no matter what he does or says. And the fact that he's from LA, I don't know if it's LA, but he's from California, makes it pretty obvious that he's a fucking liberal. And he's going to push the liberal agenda, whether it's right, wrong, true, or false. So I can't fault him for doing what he does, but my only problem and my only issue is, and he was talking about the Keith Porter case, Keith Porter Jr. case, which not many people are talking about. But I peep game. They're using the Keith Porter Jr. case to try to sucker Black Americans into supporting the illegal aliens. That's what it's about, into being anti-ICE. And they're going scorched earth because they're scared to death. And the reason why I believe they're scared to death is because these people are about to go to jail. They're about to have indictments come down on them. The military is about to be swooping in and disappearing their asses, and shit's about to get ugly for them. So they're trying to make shit ugly for as ugly as possible for the rest of the world. And when Vladimir Putin talks about his weaponry, he's not bullshitting either. But as much as Trump and Putin talk about their military capabilities, you notice they never threaten one another because they're allies. They're fucking allies. And as Trump deals with Venezuela, Putin is going to deal with Israel. Because Trump can't deal with Israel, because Israel has too many sleeper cells here in the United States that's going to start killing American citizens if Trump gives any indication that he's bucking the system. So, yeah, he's going to approve the military funding. Yeah, he's going to give them the old-ass military equipment that's practically useless. Yeah, he's going to give them bombs and rockets and missiles and guns and ammunition and all types of shit, but he won't give them missiles to shore up their Iron Dome defense system. Because when Iran, which is a close ally of Putin, starts to launch their missiles at Tel Aviv, there will be no Iron Dome system to stop them. And the Middle East will collapse in on Israel. And Vladimir Putin and the Russian military are the ones that are possibly going to be leading that charge. And because Putin is going to be leading that anti-Israel charge, the Israeli citizens within Russia, many of whom could be Mossad spies, are going to turn up and commit mass casualty events in Russia. So in order to prevent that, Putin freezes all their money, freezes all their assets, and kicks them the fuck out of his country. And Vladimir Putin's aggressive posture with the EU right now is in support of Donald Trump taking Greenland, because once Trump takes Greenland, Trump will have that northern trade line directly to Russia. So we'll have trade lines with Russia to the west, trade lines with Russia to the northeast. So when it's time for the BRICS nations to isolate Israel economically and lay siege to their nation, it can be done seamlessly. But Denmark is trying to hold on to Greenland as part of the European Union, because if Trump doesn't have that open trade line with Vladimir Putin, when it's time to move military equipment around to fight this war of Armageddon, they're not going to have the capability to do it. So they're establishing the capability now. And I strongly believe that if these anti-ICE protests get any more intense and they continue to impede federal law enforcement, these federal agents are going to use these directed energy weapons at these people. So instead of the police getting on a bullhorn and demanding that they disperse, the military is going to show up with a cymatic directed energy weapon pointed at the crowd and disperse their ass with whatever microwaves they're blasting them with. So when Trump talks that talk about you're going to see shit that you ain't never seen before, he means that. And when Putin says if the EU keeps pushing for unreasonable negotiations, there'll be nobody left to negotiate with, Putin means business. Putin means business. And again, I can't stress this enough. Look at the people who are telling you to be mad at ICE. Look at the people who are telling you to hate Donald Trump. And when you look at their track records and their past history of what they supported and what they didn't support, what you'll find is everything they supported was antithetical to your best interest. And once you realize that, you'll come to the realization that everything they're supporting now is antithetical to your best interest. And black people, I can't stress this enough. Fuck them illegal aliens. Do not get involved in those anti-ICE protests. As black Americans, you should know better. ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, they are not after you as Americans. So stay out of the way and let them do their fucking job. They're going after illegal aliens. And these domestic terrorist groups that are left-wing organizations designed to protect these illegal aliens from city to city, those groups are going to be busted up and they're going to be deemed individually as domestic terrorist organizations. And honestly, and this might just be wishful thinking, but they might end up getting thrown out of a C-17 with no parachute. And we'll never know who they are or what their names are. They're just going to be nameless, faceless individuals who help orchestrate the downfall of America. And one day they'll be here and the next day they'll be gone. Certain things like this whole immigration thing with ICE and the illegal aliens, it's only becoming a debate because the left is giving you false narratives and telling you lies. And because we know the truth, we're going to debate those lies. But honestly, it don't matter how much truth you know. If the people around you won't listen to you, there's no point in talking to them. So, guys, we are at 2 hours and 19 minutes. I'd like to drag it on for 2.5 hours, but I'm fucking tired and I gotta go. But in knowing that the Trump administration has the capabilities, military capabilities that they have, look around on these American streets in these liberal cities. Those people don't have, they don't have much time to be free. They don't. And these Democrat politicians that are constantly inciting violence, they need to be arrested, taken into custody, and jailed as well. But we're probably not going to hear much about that. We're probably not going to hear too much about that at all because they don't want this type of stuff to get out. They want to project the image of their activists being poor innocent victims. But anyway, guys, I got to get up out of here. Shout out to y'all for supporting the show. Appreciate you guys for being here. What do we got? 3 donations for the night. That's cool. I like to get 5, but that's all right. But I really got to go. I've been fucking drinking. I'm tired. I've been up all fucking day and, whatever. But I just want to say, guys, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate the love and the support. And I hope y'all understand what I'm talking about here. And I hope you guys are wise enough to recognize the propaganda when you see it so you won't fall for it. And sometimes you start to see that propaganda being parroted by YouTubers that you once loved and trusted, but now you can't trust them because the narratives that they're putting out align with the Democratic Party and align with the very same people that you know for a fact want to destroy your nation and bring you down. Which in turn would cause you to reject those notions and those ideologies. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I got to get the fuck out of here. I am fucking tired and I don't know what to do with myself right now. So I think I'm just gonna go to sleep. It's probably the best thing to do. So anyway, I appreciate the love, appreciate the support, appreciate you guys for being here, appreciate you guys hitting that like button. And I will see you on the next one. Peep my flag. That's what it's all about right there. That's what it is right there. So appreciate you guys being here, and I'll see you on the next one. Citizen Man, out.